Hello, making this video on request of a customer who has bought one of my grinder kits and wishes to fit his own motor. Often to do this, depending on the motor you've bought, you may need to switch the rotor around to the other side. This is IEC motors have a tendency to put the connection box up the front, which is right where we don't want it. So we're talking about actually moving the shaft to the other side, not changing the direction. We're not changing the rotation, we're physically switching it around. Now, IEC motors are very modular and easy to work on, and this is quite a simple job. This is a single phase motor. As you can see, it's got a capacitor, it's got a single capacitor. This does work a lot easier if you have a single capacitor motor. If it's a capacitor start, capacitor run, it becomes a bit more complicated because you've got a centrifugal switch in here which needs to be rerouted, and because yeah. So to do this, I've taken the cover off already to the connection box, and I've taken the key out the keyway, and what I'm going to do is unscrew these 4 screws. Okay, we're going to look after these. Put those in the lid. So this now just comes loose and we can move that other way. The next step is going to be to take the 3 fan screws off. Now, this is a TEC motor. Most of these are going to be very, very similar. Okay, the fan cover now just comes off. And this is the fan, by the way. This is what cools the motor. So, as you can see, it's a very standardized modular design, very symmetrical. So you've got the body here, and you've got a cap, and you've got a cap. So what we're going to do is take all these caps off. So these work. These have got little bolts that connect through into these semi-captive nuts. It's best to properly remove them because there's a decent chance they will run away on you and you never see them again. So the first one we're going to remove is the back one here. So we're just going to unscrew these 4. Okay, so that's 4 rear bolts out. That is still in place. Now we're literally going to pull the whole thing out, the whole rotor out of the motor. It's tempting to just bash on the shaft, but personally my favourite way is a flat-bladed screwdriver. And there's a nice little gap just right in here. So we're just going to pop it in, give it a twist, and that's it. It literally comes right out. And that is your motor rotor. You've got the bearing, and one thing to watch for, sometimes it comes out with the shafts, sometimes, yeah, the little ring is still in there. So, nice view of a motor. So we're going to repeat the process here for the face. By the way, this is the same process you go through if you need to change the face of your motor. So if you've bought a foot-mounted B5 motor and you want to put a B14 or a B35 face on it, then this is all you have to do. You can buy the face. They're all standardized because it makes it easier for the manufacturers, for wholesalers, and for service professionals to work on them. One thing, this one here at the top, that one actually threads into the body, not into a nut, so it's a shorter one. Just something to be aware of. Be a bit more careful when you're tightening it up, because you may just strip the threads. These you don't have to wrap on these real tight. In fact, they won't go that tight because the nut will just spin. So that's it. That's the face off, and there's that little. You call it like a thrust washer type thing, still captive in there. So all we're going to do is spin this around and put the face on the opposite side. Simple as that. And literally, that's enough. Couldn't tell you how many Newton meters that is, but it's at least several. So you might have noticed I just put 3 in. That's because to put the 4th one in, I will have to tip the motor up, and the little ring, the little thrust washer bit will fall out. So I'm going to now put the rotor back in. So it's really easy. Just want to make sure it goes in roughly straight. It's kind of impossible to miss a line. You just want to make sure when you're doing it, you don't bash the windings or any of the wires or anything that could cause some damage. But really, this is nice and easy. So it should just slide in nice and easy. And then there we go. That's it. So it's quite useful to know this stuff if you ever have to service it. So you know, if the washers ever need some maintenance, that kind of thing. Anyway, all we're going to do now, that's all together. We're going to put all of the bolts on, and then we're going to go back and we'll put the fan guard on, and we'll put the connection box back on. They tend to go in much better when the nut is in place. Okay. Next we'll put the fan guard back on. Just get the screws in first before we start tightening them. So this may vary motor to motor, but by and large should be a similar story. So that's the hard bit done. We're just going to put the connection box back on. Now we're going to put it on, not that way, because that will defeat the purpose. I'm going to put it that way. Okay, so take our 4 screws, and this is very difficult to do one-handed. 4 screws. Okay, capacitor in. Lid on. Rubber seals nicely and in place. So we got our 4 screws in. Job done. One last thing. Don't forget to put the key back in. Okay.